Picture New York's Little Italy in the early 1900s, streets buzzing with pushcarts, Italian grandmothers shouting from stoops, and the smell of garlic, tomato sauce, and fresh bread drifting through the air. For immigrants who had left behind poverty in Sicily and Naples, food wasn't just nourishment, it was memory, survival, and pride. Out of cramped tenement kitchens and bustling delis, they created sandwiches so bold, so indulgent, that they defined Italian-American culture. Yet over time, many of these legendary creations vanished, buried beneath fast food and changing tastes. Today, we're uncovering 25 forgotten Italian-American sandwiches that will leave you saying, "Wait, how did we ever let that disappear?" 1. The Meatball Hero, a legend in a roll. The Meatball Hero wasn't just a sandwich, it was a celebration of everything Italian-American stood for. Giant meatballs simmered for hours in tomato gravy, tucked into a long roll, then buried under bubbling mozzarella. The smell alone drew crowds from blocks away. Kids would split one after school, while dock workers devoured them whole. But as chain restaurants flattened it into bland subs, the authentic Meatball Hero began to fade. Today, outside of family kitchens, the true hero lives mostly in memory. But if you think meatballs and bread are indulgent, wait until you see what happens when chicken and cheese collide. 2. The chicken parm sub, golden, crispy, and melting. Italian-Americans knew how to turn leftovers into feasts. Fried chicken cutlets were layered with tangy marinara, dusted with parmesan, and smothered in mozzarella before being toasted in the oven. The chicken parm sub was gooey, crispy, and irresistible, the kind of sandwich that dripped sauce down your shirt but was worth every bite. Families lined up at delis on Sundays just to grab one. But as fast food chains simplified it into soggy imitations, the original slowly disappeared. Still, even with its glory, the chicken parm couldn't match the creativity of the next invention, a vegetarian twist that stunned even the meat lovers. 3. The eggplant parm sandwich. Vegetables-transformed eggplant was cheap, abundant, and often dismissed, but Italian immigrants transformed it. Slices were breaded, fried golden, layered with tomato sauce and mozzarella, and pressed between bread. The eggplant parm sandwich was rich, hearty, and almost indistinguishable from meat. For many families, it was the poor man's chicken parm, but just as satisfying. It became a deli favorite for decades until diets shifted and vegetables lost their starring role. Yet for those who remember, the first bite of fried eggplant and melted cheese is unforgettable. And if you thought eggplant could surprise, the next sandwich brought fire and smoke straight from the sausage grill. 4. The sausage and peppers roll, fire on the streets. If you walk through an Italian-American street fair in the 1930s, the smell of grilled sausage and peppers would pull you in before the music did. Juicy Italian sausages, spicy or sweet, were tucked into long rolls with caramelized onions and roasted bell peppers. The sausage and peppers roll was smoky, greasy, and full of life. Street food that felt like a festival in every bite. Crowds ate them with one hand while waving flags with the other. But as parades faded and food carts disappeared, so did this roll. Still, compared to what's next, even fire-roasted sausage seems tame because the following sandwich soaked itself in gravy. 5. The Italian beef dip, Chicago's pride. In Chicago's Italian neighborhoods, roast beef was slow-cooked until tender, sliced paper-thin, and piled high on long rolls. Then came the magic. The whole sandwich was dipped into its own rich beef gravy. The Italian beef dip dripped down your arms as you tried to eat it, but nobody cared. It was messy perfection. Spices, garlic, and hot giardiniera peppers made it unforgettable. For years, it was the working man's lunch, but its popularity never fully spread outside Chicago. Today, it lingers in a few shops, but the true dripping original has mostly vanished. And if beef soaked in gravy sounds indulgent, the next sandwich went even bolder, combining Sicily with New Orleans in a feast unlike any other. 6. The muffuletta, a Sicilian feast in New Orleans. Arriving with Sicilian immigrants in New Orleans, the muffuletta was no ordinary sandwich. Built on a massive round loaf of sesame bread, it was layered with salami, mortadella, ham, provolone, and the star, a briny olive salad dripping with oil. The muffuletta was heavy enough to feed 2 dock workers, bold enough to symbolize an entire community. For decades, it was the pride of the French Quarter, but outside Louisiana, it struggled to survive. Today, watered-down versions exist, but the authentic muffuletta is a nearly forgotten treasure. And yet, if you think a giant olive-studded loaf sounds extravagant, wait until you see how Italians turned fried dough into a breakfast sandwich you'd never expect. 7. The Zeppel breakfast sandwich, sweet meets savory. Zeppel were meant to be festival treats, fried dough dusted with sugar, sold during feasts in Italian neighborhoods. But some clever deli owners turned them into bread for breakfast sandwiches. Picture warm, puffy zeppole sliced open and stuffed with prosciutto, a fried egg, and melted provolone. The zeppole breakfast sandwich was salty, sweet, and decadent, a carnival in every bite. It was loved in immigrant kitchens, but health trends and the decline of homemade fried breads pushed it into obscurity. Still, if you thought fried dough was wild, the next sandwich brought the sea straight to the breadbasket. 8. The clam casino roll, coastal Italian-American flair. Rhode Island Italians had a secret, their love of clams. Inspired by Clam's Casino, they stuffed sautéed clams, peppers, garlic, and breadcrumbs into rolls, topping it all with a drizzle of lemon butter. The Clam Casino roll was briny, buttery, and smoky all at once. It was a coastal treasure, but too regional to survive the march of national fast food. Today, it's remembered mostly as a whisper of seaside Italian feasts. And yet, compared to clams in bread, the next sandwich feels almost scandalous because it stuffed rolls with something Italians usually saved for Sunday feasts. 9. The braciole sub, Sunday dinner-to-go braciole, rolled beef stuffed with garlic, parsley, and breadcrumbs, was the centerpiece of Sunday dinners. But Italian delis in New York began slicing it and stuffing it into long rolls with mozzarella and tomato sauce. The braciole sub was like taking a feast with you, heavy and indulgent, dripping with flavor. Families who couldn't wait for Sunday served it on weekdays as a quick bite. But as braciole itself became rare outside family kitchens, the sandwich all but disappeared. Still, if you think rolled beef was bold, the next creation took humble calamari and turned it into a street legend. 10. The calamari hero, fried rings of glory. At Italian street festivals, fried calamari wasn't just an appetizer. It became the centerpiece of a sandwich. Golden calamari rings were heaped into crusty rolls, drizzled with marinara sauce and topped with a squeeze of lemon. The calamari hero was crispy, tangy, and irresistible, a taste of the boardwalk and Little Italy combined. It was a carnival in bread, loved by kids and adults alike. But as seafood prices rose and festival foods changed, the calamari hero quietly slipped away. Still, if you think fried squid was daring, the next sandwich turned a whole pizza into something you could hold in your hands. 11. The stromboli pocket, pizza's portable cousin. Stromboli is usually baked as a roll, sliced into pieces. But in mid-century Italian delis, smaller handheld versions were sold as sandwiches. Picture dough stuffed with salami, pepperoni, mozzarella, and ricotta, folded and baked until golden. The stromboli pocket was gooey, chewy, and satisfying, a portable pizza dream. Kids grabbed them after school. Workers ate them on the go. But as frozen pizza snacks took over, the fresh deli-made pockets disappeared. Still, the next sandwich wasn't about convenience. It was about packing an entire family dinner into a roll dripping with sauce. 12. The Sunday gravy roll, feast in a bun. In Italian-American households, Sunday gravy meant a huge pot of tomato sauce simmering all day with sausages, meatballs, and pork. Delis found a way to put that entire feast into bread. The Sunday gravy roll overflowed with chunks of meat, drenched in rich tomato sauce, mozzarella melting over the top. It was messy, indulgent, and unforgettable. A sandwich that smelled like home. Families would order them after church, sauce dripping down their hands. But as traditions faded, so did this masterpiece. And yet, if you think stuffing Sunday into bread was bold, the next creation dared to take delicate veal and turn it into deli indulgence. 13. The veal cutlet sandwich, elegance in a roll. In Italian delis of the 1940s, veal cutlets were the pride of the counter. Breaded, fried, and layered with lemony mayo or melted mozzarella, the veal cutlet sandwich was tender, crispy, and indulgent. It was considered fancy street food, eaten by those who wanted something finer than sausage or meatballs. But as veal became expensive and controversial, this once beloved deli treasure disappeared. Still, if you think veal cutlets were extravagant, wait until you see the pork masterpiece that followed, born from Roman tradition but reborn in American delis. 14. The porchetta roll, Rome meets New York. Porchetta, spiced, slow-roasted pork with herbs, was an Italian festival food. Immigrants brought the recipe, and New York delis sliced it thin, piling it into crusty rolls with mustard or broccoli rabe. The porchetta roll was juicy, garlicky, and unforgettable, with flavors that melted into the bread. It was a link to ancient Roman feasts, adapted for American lunch counters. But as deli menus shrank, porchetta became a rare sight, and this roll faded into memory. Still, compared to pork and herbs, the next sandwich was even stranger because it married salty and sweet in a way nobody expected. 15. The prosciutto and fig sandwich, sweet and salty Harmony prosciutto, was already prized, thin and silky. But Italian immigrants in America paired it with something unusual: fig jam or fresh figs layered with ricotta or gorgonzola inside bread. The prosciutto and fig sandwich was elegant, indulgent, and surprising. Salty, sweet, and creamy all at once. It became a favorite for weddings and holiday feasts. But in time, its complexity pushed it aside for simpler fare. Today, it's a forgotten indulgence. Yet, if figs and prosciutto shocked you, the next creation went further, because it stuffed fried rice balls into bread, creating pure carb-on-carb chaos. 16. The arancini sub, fried risotto in a roll arancini, crispy fried risotto balls, were a Sicilian street food staple. In Italian-American delis, some daring cooks stuffed them into long rolls, ladled tomato sauce on top, and sprinkled Parmesan until it melted. The arancini sub was pure indulgence. Crunchy on the outside, gooey rice and cheese inside, bread soaking up the sauce. It was messy, filling, and unlike anything else. But as arancini slipped back into restaurant-only dishes, the sandwich vanished. Still, if you think rice balls and bread sound over the top, the next sandwich shows how even eggs and peppers could become a cultural icon. 17. The pepper and egg. Hero, workers' breakfast on the go. During the Depression, meat was a luxury. So Italian immigrants turned to peppers and eggs, frying them together in olive oil and stuffing them into long rolls. The pepper and egg hero was cheap, filling, and perfect for laborers heading to factories or construction sites. Its simplicity hid its genius: sweet peppers, fluffy eggs, olive oil-soaked bread. For decades, it was the working man's breakfast in New York and Chicago, but as lifestyles changed, it disappeared from delis. Yet, even as simple as it was, the pepper and egg hero couldn't match the daring of the next creation because it turned a calzone into a sandwich meltdown. 18. The calzone melt, pizza. Reimagined calzones were already beloved, half-moon dough stuffed with cheese and meat. But in the 1950s, some Italian-American eateries sliced calzones open and pressed them into sandwiches. Mozzarella, ricotta, salami, and pepperoni oozed out between crusty bread slices, creating the calzone melt. It was gooey, chewy, and overloaded with flavor, like eating a portable pizza lava flow. Kids adored it, adults found it too messy, and eventually it faded. Still, compared to molten calzone sandwiches, the next creation pushed seafood into bread in a way nobody expected. 19. The shrimp scampi roll, garlic butter. Overload shrimp scampi, garlicky shrimp sizzling in butter, was usually a pasta dish. But Italian-American chefs found a bolder use, loading the shrimp into a crusty roll, drenching it with the buttery sauce, and topping it with parsley and lemon. The shrimp scampi roll was rich, messy, and unforgettable. Diners loved it late at night, soaking bread in pools of garlic butter. But it was too heavy to last, and restaurants dropped it. Still, the next invention made even shrimp look tame, because it stuffed a square of lasagna between bread slices. 20. The lasagna sandwich, madness. Between bread, yes, it really existed. Some delis in New York served leftover lasagna between garlic bread slices, creating the lasagna sandwich. Gooey layers of pasta, ricotta, ground beef, and marinara oozed out with every bite. It was over the top, chaotic, and absolutely indulgent. Families laughed at its success, but kids loved it. Eventually, practicality and napkins killed it off. But while lasagna in bread shocked many, the next creation was even more unusual. It replaced bread with polenta. 21. The polenta bread sandwich. Cornmeal innovation. Polenta was a staple for poor Italian immigrants, cheap, filling, and versatile. Some cooks baked it into thick slabs used like bread slices and filled them with meatballs, cheese, or vegetables. The polenta bread sandwich was earthy, hearty, and gluten-free before anyone cared. Workers praised it as bread without flour. But as polenta became a side dish rather than a mainstay, the sandwich disappeared. Still, compared to this rustic invention, the next sandwich brought breakfast elegance with ricotta and eggs. 22. The egg and ricotta breakfast bun, morning indulgence. Italian immigrants brought ricotta to every meal, even breakfast. Delis once served fluffy rolls stuffed with scrambled eggs, creamy ricotta, and wilted spinach. The egg and ricotta breakfast bun was soft, rich, and comforting, the kind of food that reminded families of quiet mornings back home. But as diners and bagel shops took over, this delicate breakfast sandwich faded away. Still, what came next was sharper, bolder, and filled with Mediterranean flavor. 23. The Sicilian tuna roll. From the old country to the docks, tuna salad in America was bland, until Sicilian immigrants remade it. They mixed tuna with olives, capers, lemon, and olive oil, then packed it into crusty rolls. The Sicilian tuna roll was briny, tangy, and full of sunshine, a sandwich that tasted of Sicily but was eaten on the docks of New York. It was once a working man's lunch, but mayonnaise-heavy tuna salad slowly replaced it. Still, if briny tuna surprised you, the next sandwich will shock you. It turned a dessert into a deli item. 24. The cannoli cream sweet sandwich, dessert in disguise. Cannoli was already beloved, but in Italian neighborhoods, bakers sometimes spread sweet ricotta cannoli cream between slices of fried brioche, sprinkling chocolate chips and powdered sugar on top. The cannoli cream sweet sandwich was decadent, playful, and short-lived. too sweet for everyday eating, but unforgettable at festivals. Eventually, it disappeared, replaced by simpler pastries. Still, the final creation wasn't about indulgence alone. It was about heritage and pride. 25. The Festa Sub, a celebration in bread. On feast days, Italian delis made a sandwich that was almost a parade by itself. Thick loaves layered with mortadella, salami, prosciutto, provolone, roasted peppers, and olive paste. The Festa Sub was enormous, colorful, and festive, meant to be shared by families during holidays. It symbolized community, abundance, and joy. But with the decline of neighborhood feasts, this sandwich slipped into memory. From meatball heroes dripping with sauce to seafood rolls, polenta bread inventions, and even dessert sandwiches, these 25 forgotten Italian-American sandwiches prove that food is more than survival. It's culture, creativity, and celebration. They tell the story of immigrants who turned scraps into masterpieces and memories into flavors. Today, many of these sandwiches are gone, but their spirit lives on in every deli, bakery, and family kitchen that dares to honor tradition. Tell me, which forgotten Italian-American sandwich would you bring back first?